getting into the next episode. I'm gonna turn it down because I mean I enjoy the whole intro. I don't need to listen to pay attention to it every time. I'm gonna be ready to skip over the whole epilepsy warning one where it's like Natsu telling you don't sit too close to the screen. But I'm just trying to think of the stuff in episode 2 that we're gonna see that I really like different than than in the manga. I know some of this is the general designs. I don't think they show Gray smoking at all in the anime, if I recall correctly. I don't think they show that at all. And then some of like the small details, like Kana's hair being different. And like if you just go back and look at chapter 2, Kana has way more coarse hair. It looks way curlier, whereas I'm gonna have to listen to opening 1. I just love opening 1. Oof. Kana's hair is way more coarse and way thicker in how it looks in her first appearance, which is weird because they put it as more normal Kana, but when it comes to Levi, they use more of the early Levi design, because early Levi she's way more stacked. She's got a way bigger chest, and Mishima ends up changing that, makes her more petite when she becomes more prominent in the series. But as it is, when she's first shown, she's more of like, the standard girl would be, is like, way more built. And they actually keep that in the anime for the first part, from what I remember. I'm trying, like, I'm pretty sure I looked at a scene, like rewatch part of episode 2 not too long ago, because I wanted to double check that. It was just something I was interested in seeing, and it was still in there, I believe. I'll point it out when we get to it. I know episode 2 is very otherwise, like, it's very close as much as they can to chapter 2. Oh my god, look at that. Hang on, I gotta go back really quick. Hold on. This is what I'm talking about, Mishima's early designs when it comes to Fairy Tail. Like, look at Igneel. He looks, for the most part, like Igneel, but it's like his eyes, parts of his face. Also, he doesn't have the little cool diamonds, little black diamonds on his claws. I like those a lot. But it's like he's missing scars too. But his overall design, and this isn't, I know that the anime has him look a little bit different, but for somebody who's read the manga many times, it's not that crazy of a difference. Just from looking at, like, early Igneel is very different than later Igneel. I think it's like you have beginning of series Igneel, how he looks, how we see him after the fighting festival, and then it's like Igneel after Grand Magic Games, or like, well, not really after Grand Magic Games, it's like right as we go into the Sting and Rogue fight is when we really get like a hard design lock of Igneel. I mean, maybe you can kind of say when, like, with the Erasion Sace when he's fighting Zero, and we see that kind of style too, but I would say way more so of when we see Natsu fighting Sting and Rogue, like right before Sting and Rogue, that it's able to actually really hold more of what you would expect for his design. I just got a message, 1 second. Oh my god, what is with all of these freaking things? Oh, hell yeah, I think I might have got an extra day off of work. More stuff to do, so we'll see. Oh my god. Before I even get into this, real quick, just because I feel like I can, with these ones, with the Fairy Tail reactions, it's way more so of like I said, finding out about my style of reaction, finding out how I kind of talk about, because I want to get to like more of it. I want to get to like stuff where it's like, the hype, seeing like the crazy stuff, because I know everybody likes seeing it's like when you get to a really badass part and you just lose it with like excitement. And right now, the only show that I've started watching was Go Loser Ranger. I've actually been really liking it so far, but it hasn't had any crazy parts, so I haven't had any moments like that. What's funny is, like, even though like I've read Fairy Tail so many times, I've watched it, I know the parts that are still going to get me absolutely juiced. But I was for work I got a smartwatch, not like a crazy one. It was only like $60, but like I got a smartwatch So if like somebody sends me text, instead of pulling out my phone so they think I'm on my phone doing whatever all the time, I can be like, oh, okay. You can't text back, you can do calls, but you can at least, like, if somebody sends you a message, it pops up. And it also goes to freaking Twitter and no, it doesn't go to Discord, which is like so much I wish it did, at least not to my current knowledge. And it just like that's what that sound is. If stuff's going off, you know, I'm getting my phone blown up, and I'm just seeing what people are trying to tell me. So it's just in there. So let's get back to the episode. I love the first. Also, too, I wonder what. I wish we had more exploration of Lucy's mind when Natsu first told her that they were looking for a dragon, and then obviously later, like, Mira Jane explains a little bit to her. Like, does she think that Natsu just wanted to beat a dragon? I guess, like, with Dragon Slayer magic, that would make the most sense, just in general, of what she thought. See, the Magic Council, completely different setup too than how they are in the manga. Like, they're just in what, like, this almost Akatsuki like kind of like, you know, room being projected instead of like actually in a room, which is neat for like ominous, you know, Magic Council setup. But I really like when it was how it shows in the manga, because you see like just the outside too out of this really cool big spacious room. I guess their you know, their meeting room, it just looks cool. There's just some of the random side characters too. There's a guy's named Nigi, I think. I just remember him for his teeth. There's Vigitor. I always liked Vigitor. He's just a cool little sport. What's funny too is like there's a lot of like small characters that even in the anime show up, and then it's like the ones that you don't see again later after the time skip, and the ones that stayed in the guild. You know who the real ones are. Vigitor is a real one. Obviously we got Gray. Gray's not a side character. Gray full buster. One of the guys himself. See, yeah, that's just regular Kana hair in this one. Kana el Barona. See, Kana is like very different in the manga art style in chapter 1. Obviously, it changes later on. Because, like, I can't think of anybody else that has that hairstyle. I think maybe Mishima thought it was just too much to draw at the time, possibly. Well, Elfman. Always liked Elfman. Just when my cats are out doing stuff, I might have to mute my mic really quick. Loki. You know, somebody, I remember what's really funny is like, somebody said he looked kind of like Ichigo. I can kind of see it because I remember there's an art piece that Kubo did where Ichigo has a similar vest on, or like a similar coat. It's not the same color, but it has the whole fur fray around it. So it's just like in my mind, I don't think I could ever unsee that one specifically. Like, they definitely don't look alike outside of that, but I can see like I can see the connection point. It's really just like a little bit of the shape of their hair and then that coat, because otherwise he doesn't look like Ichigo at all. I might have to put Tartaros away between this one, but he wants to really be here for this. I wonder how many people in the guild have seen Gray fully naked when it comes to it. It's Kana just trying to really throw full hands here. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, like, Kana has really good versatility, but like she can't brawl the same. Loki, though, I'm genuinely confused, not like confused, but it's more of like a surprise for him is he would risk like a fight where it's like a big battle like this. Because if he got any like serious injuries, you would know that he's a celestial spirit. This early Makarov, he's still got that scary flex. It's also crazy to think about at this point, Makarov is like the up until Hades, like Makarov is like one of the strongest known characters in the verse, if not like, you know, in the top handful. Just out here being dead and shit. Oh, he's good. He's just planning. See, look, early Levy. Hold on. Let me go back to that. I got distracted. I was doing something. Hold on. This is what I'm talking about. Look at early Levy. You don't get as much of a design difference when it comes to the Jet and Droy, but they look a decent chunk different in the manga. Whereas like here, Levy has a very clear, like, I don't know what it is about her hair. Very strong difference of her hair, but obviously like she's way more stacked. I always just thought that was interesting. I wonder why Mishima was like decided to kind of pull her back and change her design just a little bit, but then they included it in the anime. I don't know. Sort of those things maybe they just didn't really think about too much. Because her redesign was already shown, like, because Phantom Lord was well already established before the anime got to this point. And Phantom Lord is when she like had her first kind of real time in the manga. See, again, there she is again, still like rocking the old design. This is a really good second episode too. Not the whole thing, obviously, like the full episode, it doesn't have anything kind of like overall crazy, but I'm talking about more so about like the whole setup of showing that the tone of the guild, showing just kind of like how they go about their normal selves, and like just how Makarov kind of wants to keep everything in a way to keep nice little guild stamp. I wish that there was just like a tattooer person, because it had more of a like a guild tattooing was like a profession. So I'm talking about too, like Natsu just doesn't treat her the same at the start. And it's like a small thing, obviously, and just not knowing her name fully and not really interested in what she was doing. But we know later that Natsu obviously thinks back to this moment very differently. Which I think is interesting, because even though he wasn't looking at her, in his mind, he remembers it differently. But he remembers it in a much more positive way. Romy was pissed at the start that his design was just like a kid with shorts. There was nothing really stand out about him. I think he has the same voice actor as Levy at this point. I think it sounds the same. I would have to look into it, but I'm pretty sure that's the same VA. Sounds like her. See, this was really good foreshadowing too. This bit where it's like kind of like when Mira Jane is talking about obviously with Natsu, but it also kind of reflects back to everybody else. And there's just people in the guild otherwise. Also, it's crazy to think too, we don't have any backstory at all for Nab. Nab is just here, always loitering out, still in the guild. Never got any form of backstory, no arcs of real relevance. He's just kind of here. But I mean, he stays in the guild, so he's a real one. Yeah, I mean, he just sees this other kid whose dad has gone missing and he doesn't know what to do. That would really suck when you think about it. It's like you have no options other than to just wait, and like it seems like nobody wants to help you. He's ready to go up to Mount Hakobe. We didn't have too much knowledge of Natsu and motion sickness up until this point, because like you get a little bit in episode 1, but it doesn't seem like it's as an ongoing problem rather than it could have just been a problem in episode 1. Obviously that's like more of like, oh yeah, consistency, now you see it keep going, so you know. Honestly, dragons at this point are just like, nobody really knows if they're still around. I feel like it's kind of hard to say, because it's like, for the most part, like, dragons were around, you know, for the most part, a couple hundred years back. I wonder if there's like anybody that's like known alive in the world that would still have a knowledge of dragons overall. Like there's like, you know, some old person, I'm 150, you know, I'm one of the oldest living people. I was around when dragons were still somewhat okay and somewhat still existent. Just to have a character like that. Obviously, like, there's old people, but I'm just trying to think of anybody that would be like, I'm surprised Mishima didn't have that. It's just like some character that was around that had met dragons, just to kind of like keep them out. But I never even noticed it's like the pig thing at pulling the carriage instead of the horse. I know the horse just because of the reaction when you see how cold it is, and it's just like this horse with this like, why am I even here face. At least he should have came with a coat. That'd be horrible. Like, after that day, I thought about how I need to come up with a plan for this. It's always up to making sure my cats are up to semi-no good. I know they're never going to be up to good, but we hope for up to be semi-no good at some point. That's like the most you can expect for a cat. I wish Taurus would get something new. Like, I'm hoping at some point Lucy has like another spirit upgrade where maybe like similar to her star dress, she can apply magic to them and just give them an upgrade, even if it's nothing crazy, but it's just like maybe Taurus is a bit bigger, his horns get bigger, he has a cooler axe, something small like that, where it's like it's not really a full evolution, but it's just more like they get upgraded, because you could literally just have Taurus just become a bigger, more buff bull with a bigger axe, and it's like he doesn't have to gain any more powers. You just show his attacks do more damage, he's able to do more with physical attacks and whatnot. Nothing kind of crazy, just like more so for across the board for each of them, I guess. Happy's not a vehicle, he's a person. This is something I want to point out too. I'm gonna pause it really quick. Let me pause really quick. This is something I want to point out too, because I'm gonna point it out as we see throughout like the show. Natsu doesn't get motion sick from animals or people. It's all stuff like vehicles and man-made things that don't move around naturally. Mishima does a lot of things that are show don't tell, and he puts a lot of nods and things out there because he expects the readers and the watchers to be able to pick up on things, and he doesn't want to hold your hand through everything. That's just one of the things that obviously like an author has to decide to do, or they're just going to tell you everything, or they're going to have a narrator tell you everything. It comes down to like how they do it, and Mishima, a lot of the times, especially with something like this, he ends up doing it more through showing you and not just wanting to ruin it for you. Because like Natsu says like, oh well, Happy's not a vehicle, he's a friend, but then we see constantly like animals are not something, even though besides Happy or like random animals they come across. The only time an animal really has it, it's like the octopus in the Starry Sky arc, but it's like it picks up Natsu, shakes the shit out of him and does it. I always really liked when the anime would do stuff where it's like Natsu powering up and it like the heat just moves his hair. I think that's just badass. Yeah, this Vulcan is nobody. He's a non-factor for Natsu, especially early on, and even It's weird that they changed that to where he's like does like a little slap wave instead of just like picks up the ice spikes and throws them. Because I like when Natsu like instead heats up and they just melt on him. Then he gets the axe, obviously. But he's able to catch it. And this is another neat thing where Natsu eats the heat from the molten steel instead of like fire. Because it shows that it like it's like a byproduct where it's like it doesn't have to be fire specifically, but again it's like very early style where it's like they don't have any healers, so it's like Natsu has to be like a medic by burning this dude's wound closed. That's just metal. I wish we got more small stuff like that, because I love when Gray freezes wounds. I love that. I think it's just a really cool small character trait that he can do, and I think it's just neat to see it implemented into any scenes. Yeah, just being able to like, yeah, beats 19 more of them is just really cool for like a small little character hype moment. You got stuff to do, Mako. Mako is a character too that I'm surprised never got more fleshed out time. Because like we do have backstory for him. We completely lost my train of thought on that one. I'm trying to think. They didn't even give these fodder kids designs in the anime. I know they're just in like a flashback for Romeo. They figured they would at least show them. This is a small thing. They're not important though. Oh, I was thinking like we know a little bit about Mako's backstory. Like him and his wife are divorced, right? And then obviously like he's an older member of the guild. He just is like, there's nothing like really hype special about him, so he's just a average wizard. But it's very clear, at least from what we see, that like him and Wakaba never really tried to push themselves or climb the ladder. Like I feel like they got to like a comfortable spot and then they kind of retired almost, not like fully, but they never tried to go off on any big adventures. They probably like, oh, I'm good here, enough to kind of sustain how I want to live my life, and they just kind of stayed within that realm of doing quests, and they didn't do anything extensive. See, this is a nice bit too. Obviously this is something I imagine you'd want to do as like a new member. It's like a little kid who was born connected to the guild, you know. Obviously like if Mako obviously had been in the guild before like Gray and stuff and joined the guild, so Romeo would be born at a point where he is from birth up until this point people and the regulars in the guild know him. So having a little kid obviously already like Lucy would be like a really good bit of like for like being welcomed in. It just looks good because like if the little kid everyone knows already likes you, it's gonna just make you look like a more friendly and welcoming person in general. Yeah, solid episode. I'm trying to remember episode 3. Oh, it's like we get into Everloop, because I know that they have the whole part with like the little filler village, but Urza is in it before then, so like I think that takes place after then, with Lullaby. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, so we're gonna be seeing that. I'll probably just do I'm trying to think if I want to do more today. I might just have the 2 because I kind of want to watch it in segments where I watch all of like Everloop, and then I watch all of Lullaby for the most part. Try and get as much in one sitting, because that'll make it more interesting I think for me for commentary. So I might just call it good on the 2 episodes. And then when it comes to maybe like tomorrow, I will watch like all of Everloo and do like that whole bit. Maybe even keep that all in one video instead of doing 2 separate videos. We'll see. I got to figure out what I want to do with that. But anyway, like I said, I mean, the second episode, I mean, I'm going to be, like I said, doing more commentary for it and kind of just talking about events and things. Hopefully my cat doesn't keep yelling at me while we're doing things. And looking for anything that's like small notes of maybe like foreshadowing that I might have forgotten about, or anything that is more fun to kind of just like grab a point and explore it and to kind of see of like, oh, what's the plan here, what's the plan here. Like for instance, I'm gonna have a lot to say about Ivan when we see Ivan and we see Ivan's base and everything about Raventail and just being mad. People are gonna see me being mad about Ivan and being like, what was this guy's plan? What was the plan with Ivan? Mishima's plan and Ivan's plan itself. Why even have this fucking bum around if we're not gonna do anything with him? Anyway, I'll talk to you guys about this one later. Bye.